If you're looking to take your PCC to the next level, then you have to put some time and thought into the accessories. You have to start out with a way to see downrange with either an optic or some sights, but what about after that? How about a sling, a weapon light, foregrips? We're going to go into all of that and talk about these options and how to pick out the right ones that will work for your PCC. So let's get into it. So first of all, picking out the right accessories for your AR starts with asking yourself, what do you want your gun to be used for? Now, if you've been with us through this entire series, hopefully that's not the first time you're asking yourself this question, but it's probably the most important thing when you go to pick out your accessories. It's all about using the right tool for the right job. Probably the most important accessory you'll need is an optic or sights. Honestly, most ranges won't even let you shoot a weapon without proper sights, so let's take care of those first. Again, choosing the right sights or optics depends on your intended use, and it's crucial to train with that optic constantly. This will help you create index points to help you acquire your target quicker and make your shooting experience more comfortable and consistent. For a lot of people, iron sights work just fine if you're just starting out, and you can find some good budget options for iron sights. If you're on a budget, getting a good pair of backup iron sights can help keep some money in your wallet. Probably the most common backup sights option is the Magpul Gen 2 backup sights. Once you get a good set of irons, down the line you can hop into a red dot or scope, but being proficient with irons is darn near a must for anyone operating an AR or any gun for that matter. Most people with 9mm ARs upgrade to a red dot optic because red dots excel at helping you acquire your target faster. They'll also make it a lot easier on your eyes. What I mean here is with traditional iron sights, you need to choose if you want to be target focused or front sight focused. With a red dot, everything becomes target focused, making life much easier. Importantly, they are effective in low light conditions. When it's dark and you hear a bump in the night, a red dot allows you to see your point of aim. In a dark scenario, I would want to see where I'm aiming, and if I'm just rocking irons, the front sight post could be hard to see properly unless you have night sights. So, a nice, clean, bright red dot can help with that. Now, the downside of red dots in low light conditions is that if your dot doesn't have an auto brightness feature, you may need to adjust it down for lower light conditions, or the dot may be way too bright and actually affect how your eyes see in the dark. Okay, now that I've convinced you of getting a red dot, you have to narrow down your choices because, man, there's a lot out there for red dots. The first big question is, do you want an open or enclosed red dot? So what's the difference? Well, an open reflex optic will have its emitter open to the elements. Now, most open emitter red dots are going to be water resistant or even waterproof, but things like dirt, lint, sand, or other material can start to build up and block out the emitter from projecting the dot into the glass window of your optic. Open reflex sights have some advantages like being smaller and lighter. If weight savings or having a compact setup is a requirement for your build, then I would look into an open red dot. The nice thing here is a lot of open red dot emitters come in a bunch of different sizes and footprints. As for options, there are a lot of them out there, like your favorites here at AT3, wink wink, with the AT3 Aero red dot. That is a great bang for the buck. Suppose you're set on rocking one of these on your PCC. In that case, I'll definitely encourage you to get a 0.83-inch riser mount with it. Due to the design of ARs and the buttstock not having any drop like you see with a lot of shotguns and other styles of rifles, mounting any red dot directly to the top rail will require you to crane your neck, which will make it very uncomfortable to see through the optic. So whatever red dot you get, make sure to get a compatible riser mount with it. Moving on to closed red dots or closed emitters, commonly referred to as mailboxes, they're going to have a lot of the same principles as open emitter optics, but there are some reasons why lots of people grab these guys off the shelves, especially for larger platform handguns and rifles. They're going to be more rugged and durable since that red dot emitter is enclosed in a sealed and protected housing. If you're going to be in a wet environment a lot, playing in the dirt or sand, or just generally going to abuse your weapon a bit more than the average person, you'll probably want to go with an enclosed option since it's going to be better protecting that housing and you won't need to worry about dirt or other foreign material getting into the emitter. Now, some drawbacks of closed emitter optics are that the housing is going to be a little bit thicker, but also there are going to be more panes of glass. This means that it will generally have a slightly larger form factor compared to the smaller red dots, but they're also going to be slightly heavier. The other benefit of enclosed red dots is that they're going to be sealed to keep moisture out, which will help reduce fogging. As far as what to look for, you should ask yourself a few simple questions to help narrow down your decision. The first of those questions is, how big do you want your actual dot to be? For precision shooting, you probably want to stick with a smaller dot around 3 MOA or so. Now, if you're going to be running your trigger finger as fast as you possibly can, then you probably want to go up to something like a 4 to a 6 MOA area. Now, there are dots that emit a death donut, or usually a ring around 60 MOA around a smaller dot. Many shooters are going towards the death donut for self-defense because it can help acquire your target a little bit quicker than just a single dot. There are also options out there for what color you want your dot to be. Lots of people have a hard time seeing a straight red dot, and other people think it's easier to see a green dot. Now, if you are going to be in a leafy green area with lots of green trees, you'll probably want to go with a red dot, but technically, green is easier for the human eye to see. So as far as what I'm picking out, I'm gonna go with our AT3 Alpha Green Dot. I find that green is more pleasant to my eye, and even though you can't see the green dot unless you're the shooter, it goes well with the green theme I got going on here for our build, so that's what we're gonna do. Okay, we got our optic all figured out. Now let's check out a sling. With a sling, you can transition from a firing position to hands-free carry in split seconds. This means that you can navigate obstacles, switch to a handgun, or even grab a snack without having to drop your rig, ensuring it's always within reach. Once again, there are a lot of options for slings, from single to dual point mounting options, to color choices, and even padding and feel. The biggest thing you want to consider is how you want to mount your sling to your gun. Now, there are lots of options out there, from the old school loop system, the paraclip method, but I'm betting most of you are going to want to go with some type of QD system for your sling. QD stands for quick detach, and if you've never used them, they're a game changer for slinging your rifle. QD slings have these little locking swivels that you attach to your rifle, and they make it super easy to snap your sling into your rifle. Plus, if you're on a budget, QDs make it easy to swap your sling from one weapon to another, but my advice is to get a dedicated sling for each rifle. Next, you want to put some time and thought into where you want to mount your sling to your gun. Basically, this comes down to single point or 2-point mounting. Single point mounting is attaching the sling to a single point on your rifle, usually around the back of the receiver with a QD end plate. Many shooters feel like this gives them a lot of mobility and makes it easy to transition between shooting positions. 2-point mounting, on the other hand, involves attaching the sling to 2 points on your rifle, like the handguard, buttstock, or brace. Now, 2-point mounting will probably be more stable on your body, but I wouldn't necessarily call one method more secure than the other. Really, the best option for you will depend on your personal preference and how you plan to use your AR-9. In most cases, pick one that feels best and go train with that. So for our build, I'm going to make sure I have QD points on 3 places. One on the rear of the handguard, one on the end plate, and then another on the brace. This gives me the flexibility to switch from single point to dual mounting points. For our slings, if we look at the most popular options, there's no question that Magpul is by far the most popular. And probably the reason why is because they have options that will work for almost any sling carry style. If anyone asked me which sling I should go with, I would almost always say the MS4 sling by Magpul. The MS4 sling has 2 QD swivels that can quickly switch between 1-point and single-point configurations, so no matter how you're going to be slinging your weapon, the MS4 can adapt to you. Okay, we have our optic, our sling. Next, let's move on to lights. Weapon-mounted lights are almost a necessity on any self-defense weapons, especially if there's any chance you may be working in low light conditions. Now, if you're building a PCC for competition or general range fun, you probably won't need a light because you're just going to be using it on the range in the daylight anyway. Now, weapon lights can get really complicated with all the different specs and different ways to measure light output, so in this video, we aren't going to be going super in-depth with the nitty-gritty of candelas or spill patterns and all that. All we're going to do here is guiding you towards the right light for your AR9 setup. If you want a complete breakdown of weapon lights and all the features and things to consider, then let us know in the comments below and we'll get started on that. So if you start Googling weapon lights for ARs, you might look around at all the options and it can be really overwhelming. But choosing the right weapon light does not need to be overwhelming. It sounds like I'm beating a dead horse here, but again, consider your primary use of your gun. Are you focused on home defense or long-range outdoor scenarios? This will guide your beam pattern and the brightness needs that you might have. For us, we intend to use this gun as more of a home defense and a short-range training gun for daytime use. Now let's talk about lumens and candela. Lumens measures the total output of light. More lumens will usually mean more overall light. Candela is used to measure the intensity of the light in a specific direction. Think of it like getting sprayed with a garden hose. If your total flow of the hose is lumens, then the pressure is the candela. You can adjust the output of the hose by making the stream wider or narrower. As the stream gets narrower, the pressure you would feel would get more intense. Just like a hose, a higher candela creates a narrower, more focused beam that reaches further distances. So the basic rule of thumb here is pretty simple. If you plan on using your gun outside at night, you probably want to get something 1,000 lumens or over. Something that's 1,000 lumen plus range can help illuminate targets at much longer distances. Next, for picking out a weapon light, you need to figure out what mounting system you want to go with, M-LOK or Picatinny. Most handguards these days incorporate M-LOK slots for mounting accessories like lights, but if you're rocking a quad rail or want to mount the light on the top of the handguard, you'll more than likely want to go with a pick rail option. There are a lot of options out there on the market for both mounting styles. On our gun, we have pick rails on the top of our Stinger handguard and on the bottom. We also have M-LOK slots on the sides and on the bottom. And since we'll probably mount our light on the right side, I'll have to keep an eye on making sure I get a light that can mount on M-LOK. The light that we're choosing for our build is the Streamlight ProTac 1L. We're going with this light since it has a nice brightness of about 350 lumens, which may not sound like a lot, but since we plan on using this gun as a close quarters self-defense gun, this brightness will be just fine, and it also comes with a pressure pad and M-LOK attachments. Now, to have a good time at the range, you need some magazines, and with Glock-compatible PCC, you'll have all kinds of options, but what I would suggest is to get as large of a magazine as you can. Now, if you're one of the lucky people who live in a state with magazine restrictions, you're gonna have to follow those laws. There's nothing more annoying than going to the range and having to reload magazines constantly. Some applications for smaller magazines are beneficial though. Weight savings and compactness come into mind here, but nothing beats sending 30 Freedom Seeds downrange. Since 9mm ARs can be a little finicky, ensuring you have a good, reliable magazine for troubleshooting is a must. If you want even more capacity with your existing Glock mags, you could get a Glock mag extension like the ones from Tyrant CNC, Strike, or any of the other few dozen brands that produce magazine extensions. One of my good friends here at the team has these Taylor Freelance magazine extensions for about 7 years, and they're still going strong. Outside of that, you're still going to have all the AR accessories that you're used to seeing on an AR-15, like hand stops, foregrips, and rail covers. Lots of people who use these guns with shorter barrels like to have a hand stop to keep a hand from sliding too far forward and touching the hot barrel, or even worse, the suppressor, and getting your hand in front of the muzzle. Now, there's one thing we need to cover when we talk about foregrips. If you're rocking a pistol brace, a vertical foregrips are not an option unless you want to turn it into an SBR. A lot of manufacturers of foregrips are making slightly angled grips to keep them from being called vertical. If you're rocking a barrel under 16 inches with a pistol brace, then you want to get a foregrip that has some type of angle to keep our favorite three-lettered agencies off your back. In the end, these parts are all about function and style. Just remember that foregrips are usually inexpensive and, in the grand scheme of things, easy to change, and you don't really need to affect the use of your gun by picking a different one. So feel free to see what's out there and find some accessories that you like and that fit your budget. Hopefully by now we've given you some ideas on the best accessories to use on your PCC and inspired you enough in this series to build out your own AR-9. But if you're wondering why you should be using 9mm ARs in the first place, then you can go back to the first episode here, where we talk all about the unique benefits of this platform